where you're from and where you grew up.
So, o ka wai kapu o ka lani, ka ko'o mai o io o na lani nui a Mamau Hewitt, ko'o inoa. That's my full name. Ka wai kapu o ka lani, ka ko'o mai o io o na lani nui a Mamau Hewitt. And born and raised here in He'eia, the Ahupua'a of He'eia, actually in truth, St. Francis Hospital. And then I was raised here in He'eia by my parents, Alexander Kapilialoha Hewitt, my mom, Alice Pualeilani Kana'e Hewitt, in the home of my grandfather, Frank Kaiali'i o Liloa Kana'e, and my grandmother, Eva Wahiniali'i Rowan Kana'e.
Um, can I ask you, what is your first experience with La'au Kāhea or any, I guess, yeah, your first experience with it?
La'au Kāhea, um, unlike La'au Lapa'au, so La'au Lapa'au, you're actually trained in medicinal herbs. You come from a school of learning. You come from a genealogy of learning. You were trained by those people. You now are part of their lineage. La'au Kāhea is very, very different. La'au Kāhea is about building a strong relationship, pilina, with your aumakua and akua, and basically because they have kuleana to educate, to enlighten, and to work with their descendants, their mo'opuna, they will guide you through the process of La'au Kāhea. But that relationship has to be a relationship that is founded on the tradition, our lifestyle, our philosophy, our spirituality called pono. You cannot expect your aumakua or your akua to come and enlighten you and you not being pono. You see, pono is the thing that adheres everything in the pilina. So you can learn la'au kahea, you can kahea for the la'au, you can kahea for the healing, you can kahea for the herb. Then if you like your aumakua and your akua, answer, because that's the kuleana, to enlighten, to help, then you have to be pono. If not, your own aumakua can now punish, you see. And this is why the old folks, they were in kind of huli their tradition and belief, and then they went in a very Christian way to do their la'au kahea. So there are several kinds of la'au kahea. And in the Christian way, more the punishment that the aumakua can give, and that punishment is very, very swift. How do I know these things? I lived with my grandparents. They practiced these things in the Ahupua'a of He'eia. So I have understanding about the things that I witnessed, that I was a part of, from Ku'uwa Kamaiki, from when I was young, Ku'uwa Opio, until I became a teenager, and then Ku'uwa Makua until I became a parent, and Ki'ia Manava Ku'uwa Kupuna. So I was very close to my grandmother, who practiced these kinds of traditions.
Um, who would you say is your inspiration?
As far as inspiration, I have to say that my grandmother, Eva Wahiniali'i Rowan Kana'e, was my first inspiration, because she knew, and the He'eia, the Komomua Ohana of He'eia, the Akona, and the many families of He'eia, they lived here in what was a village, and they really practiced the old ways. So my grandmother would take the time and teach me as much as she could. From the time I was young, I had a cousin that was born. At that time, we called it water in the brain, and his head kept expanding. And I learned about La'au Lapa'au from her, because she could only use what she knew. So I would go with her to gather the herbs, the different la'au, and we would take all the different la'au and make a poultice with the la'au, and we would apply it to my cousin's head where the skin was splitting and causing sores. So my grandmother would do this 3 times a day. I would go with her and ho'opili, follow and mimic the things she was doing. I learned which herbs to pick, how to bring it home, how to prepare the poultice for the baby, and then how to apply. And me and my grandmother, we vahi ikona po'o, we wrap his head as best as we could. And back then they never give up hope, yeah. And of course there was nothing that could be done. No one knew what to do at that time. And my grandma and I, we just did the best. And then when my cousin passed away, he passed away at home, in our home on Haiku Road. And then I helped my grandmother at a very young age. I think I was 4 or 5. But Pipili Noauiaya, I was so very close to her. So everywhere she went, whatever she did, I wanted to know, I wanted to understand. And I think that's the point when my grandmother chose me to learn all of these things, because of not only the closeness, because of the inspiration and my motivation and my desire to want to learn and understand. And so it was a beautiful time of learning. Well, anyway, I helped my grandma to prepare my cousin's infant body. And then we dressed him all up, lay him on the bed, and then all the kupuna would come from He'eia. It was a very beautiful time because everybody ue were crying, and then they do their ho'ue ue oli for the baby, and we all sat in the bedroom, and then eventually the funeral service was in the living room. But that's where the inspiration of my grandmother came at that time. And it continued until her death. And even before she passed away from lung cancer. And that was because she worked in fiberglass filled air conditioning factory. Even until that time, her mission to teach me and inspire me continued. My grandmother would talk to me all day long, sharing stories as best as she could. And then she would wake me up like at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning to go sit outside on the back stairs because she couldn't sleep. And then she would share with me all and as many stories about our ahupua of He'eia and also Kaneohe. So I gotta say, my grandmother was the first inspiration in my journey of learning and understanding many, many things Hawaiian.
Do you practice la'au Kāhea?
Do I practice la'au Kāhea? To an extent, because when you do la'au Kāhea, you have to be totally dedicated. You cannot come into this kuleana half okole. You gotta come in and be dedicated. There are certain things that you have to do spiritually, mentally, and physically. It is a daily commitment. There are things that have to be prepared every morning. There are certain things where you sleep, how your bed is made, how you dress yourself, how you prepare your ahu, for the different things that you need for your work, la'au Kāhea. And so I'm so busy in so many things right now that dedication, I keep saying when I get older, I can dedicate myself to that. But in a way, yeah, doing what I'm doing now, teaching and enlightening minds and sharing the mana'o handed down from my kupuna is a way of healing many, many people. So as far as doing la'au kahea and then pule for uhanehele, things like that, I only do for our immediate family because again there is a blood connection. He io, he koko. So that connection is what allows me, with the prayers that were handed down to our family, to try my best, yeah, to work with them. But you know, these things are very sacred, especially within the families. And if you get one prayer handed down from generation to generation to generation, that prayer gathers a lot of mana. It's not like you made one up, yeah? It's that kupuna got them from her kupuna, and that kupuna got them from her kupuna. And so those prayers uttered generations and generations is what gives the La'au Kāhea prayer and the Uhanehele prayer lots of mana, lots of power. And we say, Aya ika olelo ke ola. In the language there is life. Aya ika olelo ka make. And in the language there is death. Manakaleo na po e kupuna, amana no kaleo ke akua. You know, the leo, the voice, the language of our akua and our kupuna are so very, very powerful. And so this is what I mean when I say about when you have these old prayers that were given to you mouth to mouth, yeah, like how they feed you, yeah, puha ikawaha, mouth to mouth. That is the power of the pulela au kahea and puleho ola and the pule uhanehele. So it's a long-standing tradition within our family.
Beautiful. How do you build your ability?
How do I build my ability? Do you mean how do I build my ability to do the work that I do? Again, it goes back to what I said earlier. You have to live a life of pono. You have to pule with pono. Pule to the akua, the aumakua, the kupuna. Pule with pono. You have to hana, do with pono. You have to mana'o with pono. Everything, because you see, again, the foundation of the strength of all that you do is in the relationship with your aumakua and your akua. Now, you cannot hana ino. You cannot do bad things. You cannot hana kolohe. You cannot do rascal things. You have to hana meka oya i'o, do things in truth, and hana meka pono, and do everything you can with pono. And you know, sometimes in this generation, yeah, where everybody like Facebook and Instagram and the TikToking and the Twitter, whatever it is, yeah, that kind take your mind away. My grandma would call that how vala'au valeno. They call it social media. It's how vala'au valeno, just idle gossip. And if you put too much into it, yeah, and not dedicate yourself to ohana, yeah, because in this understanding of doing everything pono, malama ke akua is first, respect and honor ke akua. Malama ka aina is second, because the aina is a manifestation of akua, so you respect and honor the aina. And finally, malama ina ivihana o ka aina, to take care of all of us, because we are an extension of the aina. Therefore, we're an extension of the akua, because akua created all things. And this is a relationship that is perpetuated in pono, so that you receive the strength, the guidance, the inspiration, the wisdom, and the knowledge that comes from akua.
Beautiful. So basically, your kupuna is kind of one of your guides, or someone that guides you even now. In the unseen realm, she will guide you now.
So kupuna guides are aumakua, and The thing about that, as I mentioned before, you like your aumakua guide you. See, it's not enough to talk about aumakua. What are you going to do to perpetuate that relationship in pono? So you want them to guide you, and that's what they are. They are our spirit guides. But you have a kuleana also. You see, as they give you wisdom, guidance, and inspiration, you got to give them dedication. You got to give them pule. You got to do what's right in front of their eyes because they're watching. Because if not, and you ho'opuni puni, you say things that are false and lie, they will come and punish you.
How do you pale?
How do I protect myself?
Yeah.
The word is palea. So you get the pule ho'opale, which is the prayer, right? That was your question, right? So how do I pale? Well, you have to do the pule ho'opale or the pule ho'omalu. So pule ho'omalu, both have similar things. For instance, there is one, the pale is the covering, yeah? Something that covers, like the papale. The malu is also protects, but the malu is about peace also, yeah?
Peace.
So a sense of well-being. And then you have to know those pule. And then, you know, if you are so lucky, and mahalo ke akua, because our family practice these traditions, then we have our own pule ho'ola, pule ho'opale, pule ho'omalu. And you see, spiritually, in order for that to work again, we have to go back to your commitment to how you take care of your aumakua. Because if you're not honoring your aumakua and you like them protect you, I think you're going to get licking because you never do the right thing. Now, if you honor them with everything that you say and do, then of course they're going to come protect you because you're doing the right thing. You're living in the pono. But if you're going to talk about this and that, ho'opuni here and there, then, you know, your words become your own outcome. So you have to be very, very cautious. Yeah. You have to be very, very cautious what you say and what you do in the tradition of La'au Kāhea.
Oh, that's beautiful. It's become your own outcome.
Oh yeah, your word's going to become your own outcome. At the end. So you be very cautious. No ho'opuni. If you know, then you know. Tell the truth. Oya i'o. But if you don't know, that's not a problem. Say I don't know and say you want to learn. That's ike. And then once you find a teacher and the teacher going to teach you, like I had my teachers, I am very, very honest to say that the wisdom comes from my teachers, not me. I don't claim nothing. You see? Ha'aha'a, humility. Oya i'o, truth. Pono, in the order. That ike came from them. And that goes back to the tradition. Ike aku, ike mai. When somebody shares knowledge with you, it is part of the mo'olelo, the history, and the mo'okuauhau. You have to honor them by remembering their names. You cannot just take that ike and run with them, then create one business, one platform, one website, and you teaching all those things, but you forget where that came from. That's not the Ha Hawaii way, that's the Ha Ole way. The Ha Hawaii is about staying connected to everyone and everything in the tradition. And we do that culturally by the mo'olelo and the mo'okuauhau. That is how we honor and respect.
That's beautiful. So for your practice, have you chosen someone to pass it on to, or were you still in?
Have I chosen someone to pass the knowledge? I get children and I get grandchildren and I get great grandchildren. So hopefully when they're in my presence, alo ike alo, that they hanu aku hanu mai, as I'm speaking, they're breathing, and the transference is being done. And when they're ready for training, ka ho'opili mai ana ia'u, i ke ia kule ana ana kupuna, yeah, the kuleana of La'au Kāhea and these things, then I'll know, and they will know also. I think it's a process of learning and understanding, and ikavaku ponono when the time is right. Yeah, because when we had training from our kupuna and our teachers, it wasn't a'o and ha'avina. It wasn't training, I give you one lesson. It was ao, enlightenment, and ho'opili, following, adhering to, night and day. When you're with your kupuna wahine night and day, you being enlightened, different from education. Yeah, that's a'o ha'avina. This is ao and ho'opili. You adhere to them. You become them at the end. Somebody said to me, "Oh, how did you know? How did I know when I came to this level? When I looked in the mirror and I didn't see myself anymore. I saw the face of my grandmother, and I saw the face of my grandfather, and I saw the face of all of my teachers. That's where I am right now when I look into the mirror. Everything I do reflects them, and now when I look into the mirror, more so I am reminded of the things that I have to do. When I smile and I see my kupuna wahine smile, and I see my kupuna kane and his acknowledgement, and my father, when I see all of them, I knew it was my wa kupono, and I was ready to accept it.
So are there other cultural practices that help you? I guess you do the pule, you do the whole thing, yeah.
So, again, yeah, and it goes back to what I just said. The ho'opili, you follow. You just follow. And you follow with your ike. You follow with your na'au'au. You follow everything that you learn in the 30, 40 years that you were trained in all of this. It's a lifetime. Kupu, yeah, kupuana into kupuna, yeah, kupuana into kupuna, because the keiki becomes the opio becomes the makua becomes the kupuna, kupuana, learning, growing in the process, which is the pono. Then you move on to the next dimension of enlightenment, which is called the ao makua. Yeah, the realm of the ancient ancestors, ao makua. And then after that, then you're going to the ao akua, the light of akua. And this is why the kupuna is always greatly respected and always greatly honored. Their presence in the ho'oponopono, which is what keeps us connected to our aumakua in the pono, yeah, that is really, really important, because they represent all the aumakua that have passed. They are the physical embodiments, and this is why our culture is uniquely different. When we see a kupuna, we have to see them as the physical embodiment of all the aumakua and the akua. And this is why in our culture they are held in high regard, because they are that connection, and we have to honor that connection, and we have to perpetuate those connections.
So another question is, have you taken up other Hawaiian practices, which you have regularly? You do your kumu'ula.
I think everything that the kupuna, everything that I have become, it is a reflection of all of them. Whether it's hakumele, composition, olelo Hawaii language, hula, the list is great, but it is a reflection of the kupuna that I learned from, and it is a reflection of a lifetime of learning. A lifetime of learning. Again, it didn't happen 4 year, 6 year, 8 year. No, that's a degree. This was a little bit different. This was the pedigree. It was a lifetime of learning, living and adhering kapilina mena poe kupuna. That's what it was.
Do you integrate other spiritual or healing practices that may not be Hawaii into your practice?
No, everything that I do, yeah. I don't I don't bring in any other spirituality because of the purity of the experience of my teachers. You see, there's no need to do that because when I gotta add stuff to who I am, to my spirituality and my culture, yeah, that's like splice and add on. Then you lose your focus. We all have unique things about all of us in our culture. I don't have to blend it to me. I am me already. I respect and honor other cultures, other traditions, and other practices, but I have to be grounded on my own foundation. So my ike will tell me to look, to observe, to understand. My malama will teach me to respect and honor, and then to nurture what I have. And it is what it is. It is as it came down from the kupuna. So my hula, people say, oh, it's very traditional, old style. I am so happy because I don't need be anything else other than what they taught me. And because of that, every time I get up and dance, I join with them spiritually in the performance. But if I change it, and because all good look good for the audience or for the people, then I've taken one step away from what they shared with me. And I don't like do that. I like be connected to them always in everything I do. So yeah, splice and add kind of stuff, no need. I stay with what they taught me and I'm good. You know, sometimes we get confused. The grass look greener on the other side. Well, good, then jump on the other side, but I don't need. I'm happy to be a representative, a reflection of everything that my kupuna ingrained into me. I'm my kai.
Beautiful, mahalo. Last question.
Last question, okay, good.
Just to share a little bit with me on Wanana, that's prophecy.
So Vanana, that's the prophecy, and of course, that kind of Vanana, from what I understand, that kind of Ike again, comes through the Mo'o Kuauhau. It comes from the Mo'o Kahuna. It comes from the Mo'o Olelo. These are the different genealogies, yeah. But most of all, yeah, it comes in the blood. And people have to understand, yeah, ko kia kua ha'ia mio, ko ke kahuna ha'ikupua. What does that mean? Not everybody has the gift. We have gifts, we all have gifts, we all have mana, but not everybody has that gift of prophecy. And don't lie about it, don't hold puni about it. Because if you steer 1,000 people into the wrong direction, the mistake they made becomes your kuleana. And if you get some sickness or something because you did that, that was your fault. So don't hold puni about everything. Say everything in truth. So our kupuna, my grandma, Iva Wahine Ali'i Rowan Kanae, her grandmother, Wahine Ali'i, was a kaula. She was a prophet. And she shared so many vanana with the family. But again, with our family, we malama no ke kahi, we take care of one another, and we malama ka ike a me ka mana, ka na'au, we take care of the wisdom, the knowledge, and the authority of our kupuna. So that was our tradition and our way. So grandma would say that Kalamai, her grandmother, had to wear a certain color, had to do things a very unique way. And there are times where she would give the vanana. Those were really important times. All of my teachers, I must say, had this unique gift of the Vanana. But like I say, you cannot train for that. You can train to be the priest, but you are chosen to train to be the priest because Akua chose you. Akua chose you. And now, because Akua chose you, because it's in your lineage, it's in your blood, it's in your bones, it's in your flesh, then you can perpetuate that tradition.
Okay, so Wanana is the prophecy.
The prophecy
The
itself.
Kaula is the prophet.
The prophet.
Okay.
And so, yeah, it's in the blood, the flesh, the blood. Grandma would always say like this, hey Evie, hey Evie. Hey E-O, hey E-O, hey Coco, hey Coco. It was a part of her wisdom, her knowledge, the way everything was connected. And if you get. If you know more, you know more. And it goes back to the Olelo no Eao, ko kia kua ha'i mio, ko ke kahuna ha'i kupua. God gave those gifts to individuals. The individuals had responsibility to become the teachers of the people. And there you have it.
Oh, so beautiful. Mahalo.